The Galaxy S25 Ultra has finally landed, and after a little bit of time with the device, I'm sure you're probably wondering, is it worth the hype? Let's talk about it. So starting out with the basics, the S25 Ultra packs the new Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy. We also have 12 gigabytes of RAM and a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The design here has been refreshed with nice curved corners. It's a much boxier design, but honestly, it's a lot easier to hold because of that, and it's a little bit lighter, so I'm sure somebody out there will appreciate that. Around the back side, we have the camera setup, and the modules have these big rings on them that we first saw in the Fold series, and personally, I'm not a big fan of them, but overall, I think the design here is nice. It's a beautiful phone. I have the titanium silver blue color in case you were curious, but I think there are 7 total colors available for the S25 Ultra, 3 of those being online exclusives. Now, another part of the design here has to do with the other side of the phone where the display is at, because we do now have thinner bezels, and that combined with the new design here, we have a 6.9 inch display, so a slight little bump there, but it's still a beautiful AMOLED display with a resolution of 1440 by 3120 at 120 Hertz. We also do have 2600 nits of peak brightness here, and overall, it's not a huge upgrade to the phone or anything like that, but it's still a solid display. In terms of year over upgrades, there's not a lot that has changed, and honestly, S24 Ultra owners will be plenty happy for another year. So let's not waste a bunch of time comparing things, but instead focus on what you can expect from the S25 Ultra. I'm sure it's expected at this point, but these phones run amazing out of the box, and there's zero lag anywhere. One UI 7 is absolutely smooth. It's butter. It looks great. I'm a big fan of what Samsung is doing here with the software and everything, and it's no one's surprise that this thing puts down benchmark numbers. I mean, it performs like a beast. Along with that, we do have a 40% larger vapor chamber cooler with this phone, so it's gonna stay cooler for a lot longer. I really don't think that's going to be an issue for anybody out there though. So I wanna talk about something. At this point, I'm not really sure how many people buy the Ultra exclusively for access to the S Pen, and I would love to know if that's something that's on your mind. And the reason I bring this up is because Samsung has removed a feature from the S Pen that might concern you, and that is Bluetooth. And you might be thinking, what does Bluetooth do? Well, that allowed you to do gesture-based controls with the camera on the S24 Ultra, so you could control it or take a picture using the S Pen, things like that. Do you care? Will you care that Bluetooth is gone from this S Pen? I would love to know your thoughts. And for me personally, it's not about removing a silly S Pen feature. It's about removing features for the sake of removing features just because people aren't using them. Where is the line? Where do we draw the line? That's the question I'd love to ask you. But on top of that, for me personally, I just don't gravitate towards the S Pen. It's not something that I'm picking up this phone for. I'm picking it up for the big display, for the bigger battery, for the bigger form factor, those things. The S Pen isn't one of them. Are you an S Pen user? Let me know with the comment. Most of Samsung's presentation for the S25 Ultra was focused around AI and how a lot of the features are being refined for Samsung's AI ecosystem. But for some of this stuff, how much you'll find these AI features useful depends on how deeply implemented into Samsung's current ecosystem you are. For example, I can long press the power button and Gemini will pop up and I can ask it to find the next Phoenix Suns game and add it to my calendar, and just like that, it'll perform the task. Unfortunately for me, that event created is only available in the Samsung Calendar app and not the Google Calendar app, which I use a lot more frequently personally. I really do think that the cross-app integration is really cool and something that will be built upon in the future and have it expand to many other third-party apps. So I'm looking forward to the future of that, but that's not happening necessarily right now. In fact, a lot of the AI here is stuff that you'll notice long-term as the phone gets to know you and your patterns and habits, not necessarily just little AI party tricks that you can pull out that wear off over time, which I can definitely appreciate. For me, it's less of the stuff like drawing assist that will turn my chicken scratch doodles into works of art somehow, and more of the things that we'll appreciate over time and hopefully make the device better as you use it, or at least that's the promise here. And if you want to know about all the AI features baked into the S25 Ultra, or most of them for that matter, there's a nice little list baked into the settings that you can find to access various settings for those AI features and learn more about them. There's also the Now brief, which I haven't found much use for yet, as I haven't used the device for quite a long time at this point. And we also do have natural language search that's baked in across the OS, so you can search for things like you would say them instead of having to know the specific name. It's kind of nice. device. We still do have Google's circle to search by long pressing on the home button, and then we also do have Samsung's new AI Select, which will allow you to circle things and select them, but it will suggest different actions based on what you have selected, and it's a lot more useful than I first anticipated. However, without long-term use of this phone, it's going to be hard to tell you exactly how some of the personal data AI features really play a role in my life. So be sure to subscribe for my long-term review in the future if you want to see that. Samsung also added a new feature called Audio Eraser, which allows you to detect and erase unwanted noises in your videos. Alright, so now we're going to be testing out the Audio Eraser feature, and what that's going to allow us to do is go back through and fine-tune and adjust how much of the voice we want present or how much of the background noise we want to erase. It's really cool, and it does it all automatically as you move the slider, basically, and so I would love to know what you think about this new Audio Eraser feature down in the comments section. So speaking of videos and the camera, let's talk about it. With the S25 Ultra, we do have last year's 200 megapixel sensor in here. We also have the same 10 megapixel 3x optical zoom camera and 50 megapixel 5x telephoto camera. Actually, the only thing that was upgraded this year was the ultra wide sensor upgraded to 50 megapixels, which is definitely nice. There's absolutely nothing unexpected here though. From a main camera perspective, I mean, this thing is great. Samsung isn't looking for anyone to upgrade year over though, like I was saying, but more people that are now 2 to 3 years behind. And for those people, you're getting a fantastic camera. The camera itself has very few misses when it comes to getting the right shot. Colors look great off device, and overall, I'm happy with the dynamic range here. Samsung did say that AI is being used to denoise and enhance photos and videos, especially those in low light, but I didn't notice anything that stood out here, just solid low light photography. You really won't be disappointed with any of Samsung's cameras on the back, and really in good lighting, all of these cameras are at their best, including the new ultra-wide sensor, which looks great to my eyes. The details are sharp, the colors are consistent between low light and daylight, and because the sensor was upgraded, we have more detail in macro photos as well, which I'm personally a big fan of. It's just so crisp and detailed, and if there's something to look forward to on the camera this year, it's this. Overall though, the camera setup on the back is absolutely fantastic, and whether it's photo or video, you're gonna be having no problems with this phone. And if you're into it, we do also have the ability to shoot log video on the phone this year, which is a much flatter version of the video that gives you a lot more enhancements and flexibility in post-processing for color correction. So there's that. But if you want to see a full gallery of the photos that I took, I will be sure to leave a link down in the description for you. And on top of that, there's a 12 megapixel front-facing camera, so you can get your selfie on. So the S25 Ultra has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside, and while there aren't any gains in that department this year, it should last you a little bit longer than its predecessor, just due to the upgraded processor inside being a lot more efficient. But realistically, this phone will last you throughout the day. I mean, it's not going to be an issue. At least I haven't personally had an issue. Even day one setting this thing up, and with moderate to heavy use, I wasn't able to kill it. So exactly how much better the battery life is, I couldn't tell you right at this moment, but it would have been nice to see a 6,000 milliamp hour battery inside of this. In fact, I'm gonna go out there on a ledge and say that I'd even be in favor of ditching the S Pen for a much larger capacity battery inside. I don't know, am I alone here? Let me know your thoughts. Overall though, I think this is definitely like top shelf Samsung flagship this year, and really, did you expect anything less? So without all of this long-term AI stuff factoring into anything, and without all the stuff that's baked into this phone, I still think it's an absolutely phenomenal smartphone to have in 2025. But so is the S24 Ultra.